Hi guys, I'm Aryo Muhammad and I'm from Indonesia and this is my son.
DeLiang, I'm about 9 years old.
If you don't know him, he is actually a writer and these four books are his books. Can you tell me what is this?
These are three series of A Tale of Jay, which tells about this teenager which has encountered many terrible moments with his quirky friends, his weird family in a dark winter. And this is my fantasy novel called Regal. Regal tells a story of this boy who has been chosen to be the guardian to protect a mysterious planet that has been invaded by many monsters.
So actually all of his books are available in Amazon. So he already write 11 books. 4 of them are illustrator books and 7 others are novel. And most of them are already launched in Amazon that you can find the link below. So actually the main purpose of making today's video is actually to share our family experience, how we raise such a young writer in our family like him. And for your information, I and my wife, like starting from 2016, we both took our PhD in University of Bristol, where 2 of our kids grow there for about 4 years. So DeLiang experienced primary school or primary educations in England or in Bristol for about 4 years. I think that when it starts, everything starts because he can speak English properly there. He can learn literacy and such kind of things that can raise him to be a writer. But anyway, I would like to share what is actually the 4 things that we did in order to raise a kid's writer in our family. I think first of all, the main thing that we did in our family is actually creating a reading habit. I think we are fortunate because both of our kids are rising in England, specifically DeLiang, where he can study in St. Michael's Primary School in Bristol, where the literacy educations in England is pretty nice, I think, compared to, let's say, for Indonesia. For example, in England, DeLiang normally, when he was like about year 1 to year 3 or year 4, he normally brings a book at home for about 2 to 3 books in daily basis, and then he read it at home. We can ask him about the book, and then when he went back to the school, the teachers also explored what he understood about the books. And those environment, specifically at school in England, is really helpful for us to create reading habit at home. So back to our family, we also have such kind of traditions between me and my wife. Like we normally have books that we finish in monthly or weekly basis, and we try to support or create the reading environment with that way. Like I also read, my wife also read, and then my his younger sister also loves to read, and we create such environment at home. Another thing that is very important that we did, I think in monthly basis or probably every 3 months, is we actually do the research a lot regarding the books that our kids can read. Like when he finished specific books and we don't have any other books at home, then of course we would like to search in internet, like what kind of recommended book for DeLiang, what type of genre that he loves. Such kind of things we normally do up until now, that we would like to provide him as many books as we can. And another thing that we cannot ignore is actually in England, we had experience to buy books in a very cheap price. As you may know that when we go to charity shops, you can get like 10 books for £10, which is very fortunate for us. And then that's the reason why we provide about 1,500 books. We buy those books and then brings to Indonesia, because we thought that providing sufficient literacy books, or sufficient books for our kids is very important in order to keep their love on reading. And that's what we are doing up until now. Such a habit has been carried out for many years until DeLiang 9 years old, and we try to keep it up until this time. I think that's the main point. So the first one is creating reading habit. And then the second thing that we also did is actually we suggested DeLiang to write a diary. So I think when he was about 6 years old, because he can write some simple words, we start to encourage him to write a diary. So in his diary, he normally write about what he felt in a daily basis, or he writes something regarding his imaginations, and it is of course a story. One day, I read one of his story in his diary, and the story is very very nice and very funny, which is about DeLiang the deer. Tell the story about a deer who played around with his friends, and then from that idea, I encouraged him to write the story regarding DeLiang deer with specific topics like for colors, for animals, and then we come up with the illustrating book for the first time, and that is the first things that DeLiang produced as a writer, which produced an illustrating book, collaborating with one of the illustrators from Indonesia. So starting from diary is a good things that you may do in your family, because I think it is very important to maintain their imaginations through a story, as well as to train the writing in daily basis. And I think that also helps us to raise a writer in our home. And then another thing that we normally do both for our kids, even for his sister, is actually we normally ask him to tell the story that happened during the dream. So his dreams is also very interesting to be told to us. So we normally asking him to tell the story that he dreamed in the night before. And I think that's the main reason why his imaginations is getting wild and beautiful and exciting every time he writes, because we try to encourage him to believe in his imaginations, to think that his imagination is very interesting. And up until now, he always tells the story about his dream. And then, of course, the fourth thing to do is actually training on writing. I think training in writing is very fundamental, as I believe that, as Professor Arisen Anderson said in a book of Peak, which is very interesting book regarding how to be a person who can work in a peak capability. I think he said that for the kids, or for the young kids, they need to train themselves until about 15, or teenager, train as much as they can to improve their talents. So I think training in writing is also another fundamental key that we can raise a writer in our home. If you don't know, I'm actually a writer in Indonesia, and I wrote about 14 books already. I know how to write, so I try to train my son to be a writer as well. So at the time when I realized that he has a very good talent in creating a story, then I asked him to start writing very seriously. So he started to create a story based on his imaginations. He created a Clementine story regarding the fantasy, and some other story that are very, very funny and great. And then at that time, I tried to train him. So every time he write, I correct it. We do like both like training writing. Sometimes it's getting very painful because I'm just learning how to be a teacher in writing. But by the time goes by, when we try to input the writing habit in his life, it turns out to be now he normally writes about 30 minutes to 1 hour. 1 hour is too much. I think 30 minutes he writes in daily basis, that he can produce about 250 to 300 words. Can you imagine if we write 250 to 300 words in a daily basis? It means in 30 days he can produce about let's say 9,000 words, and it could be one book for kids, and that is amazing. I think that's the four things that we did in order to raise a writer in our home. Can you tell me the story how you write this fantasy novel, Regal? Because to be honest, this is very nice book for a 9-year-old kid. He write when he was 8 years old, and I was so surprised looking at his writing, his vocabulary, the way of he tell the story, the way he's writing, and all the imagination that he pour into this book. Can you tell me about this story, like very simple way how you write this one?
It started when I had a dream about 7 years old, I think, and then when I was looking about, I told my dream, and then after a few days, I started to write this book. Regal. When I thought about the dream and started to edit it in some way. like adding some non-scary stuff and other things. So
And what is your inspiration coming from?
like
Is there any book that you kind of
edited.
no, not edited from, but you inspired or no at all?
Well, I think I got some of them, but I forgot which book. But it's a good fantasy novel. And then every day I started to write about 100 something
Yeah.
words, and then and that was when I every day I got 100 words and tried to make it better every chapter. It started from finding a mysterious planet into finding a school to live in.
Can you speak louder?
And then a school to live in and other steps like managing to kill a monster. But right now he's still alive. His enemy now is called Changer.
So he's now writing the volume 3. He just finished volume 2 and we already released in Amazon. And now he's writing a volume 3 that he told just before that the name of the monster is actually Changer, right?
Yes.
So what is the volume 1 tell about? I mean, what is the main story in here?
The main story is that Rigo, he was a boy and then he was playing outside on a sunny day. And that was when many forests grew up.
Yeah, I know. And then what is the story inside after that one?
The story inside, he found a school and found a friendly teacher who helped him guide around the school and helped him find a room and teach him with other teachers. And then he found a team which included these four characters called Phoenix, the leader, Sagittarius, Cygnus, and Origo. They had actually 5 members, which included Rigo's guiding teacher, and they had chosen Rigo as the guardian because they actually spied on him. They thought he would be a good guardian since his late grandfather had managed to save the world from the invading monster.
So it's actually only the start where he encountered a lot of fantastic journey to be a guardian, including battling against the monster. So anyway, that's our first video regarding young writers at home. If you would like to ask me about anything, you can suggest me the topic that you would like to discuss and I'm happy to share it, including with my son. So see you in the next video. Bye bye.
Bye bye.